Well, now to our major story of the day. During the just concluded PDP convention in Abuja, former President Goodluck Jonathan spoke about the high cost of living in the country presently under the APC administration, saying Nigeria's economy would have continued to do well had the APC consolidated on the achievements of the PDP.
Did we see food price increase in 2012? We had a major national disaster. Still, food prices were stable under the PDP. I was told that some people were insinuating that if PDP had stayed in power, the economy would have been worse off, and I laughed. We had a strong team that was managing the economy of this country. PDP is the only party that can take Nigeria to greatness. I believe in the PDP. Even God believes in the PDP.
The former president's supporters were excited, obviously, but to the presidency, it was a shot fired at them. So they did not let that slide. They fired back, saying the last administration left a battered, mismanaged, and corrupt economy. Take a look at this now. This is a blame game ahead of the 2019 general election. Yes, and this might continue for a few more days because of the issues raised. The senior special assistant to President Buhari on media and publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, wrote an open letter to former President Jonathan informing him that his government left Nigeria's economy in tatters in 2015. Take a look at what the APC says. Well, the Jonathan administration has said that they maintain a single-digit inflation rate for several years. Inflation, they say, stood at 9.6% at the inception of the Buhari administration. As at May 29, 2015, Nigeria was the largest economy in Africa, valued at over $500 billion. They also say that as at May 29, 2015, Nigeria was the #1 destination for foreign direct investment, FDI, in Africa. The Jonathan administration maintained a single-digit inflation rate for several years. Inflation stood at 9.6% at the inception of the Buhari administration. Let's flip the page now and look at what the APC are claiming. They say the oil sector boomed under its tenure, with oil prices as high as $120 and peace in the Niger Delta. Nigeria earned unprecedented dollar revenues. They also said nothing to show for the revenues and no major capital project was completed, neither power generation, road development, rail or agriculture benefited from the windfall earnings. Those are the claims against the PDP government from the APC. They also said Nigeria could not record a single major infrastructural project in the last 10 years of the PDP government. They say also that at the inception of the current administration, 21 states were unable to meet their salary bills, and the specter of workers' arrears had commenced. The PDP solution was a raid of the Ecological Fund and selective grant of 2 billion naira each to the PDP states. Well, now, let's get talking on this one, and let's bring in an economist into the conversation. Mr. Bismarck Ruwani joins us from Lagos, and also in the studio here is Mr. Ken Okolugbo. Well, as we expect all the guests to join us in the studio for a balance of the conversation tonight. Let me begin with Mr. Bismarck Ruwani on this one. Mr. Ruwani, if you will give us in figures what Nigeria was perhaps in the last 5 years or so and what we have experienced in the economy in the last 2 years, how have we fared?
First and foremost, I think we need to back out from what politicians are saying. Politicians make hay of any situation. The facts are the facts, and I'm going to take you down and kind of analyze exactly what the facts say. First and foremost, in 2014, which is when the Jonathan administration left, the last year of the administration, the GDP was at its highest point in dollar terms, $568 billion. The GDP figures today are somewhere between $368 and $400 billion in dollar terms. But the interesting thing is that why did this happen? It was because of the exchange rate adjustment. In Naira terms, GDP in 2014 was 90 trillion Naira. The GDP today in Naira terms is 119 trillion Naira. So in fact, in Naira terms, the GDP is much better than what it was in 2012 facts. 2, the recession started manifesting itself in 2015, 2016. That's when we had 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. But the recessionary gap started as far back as 2011, where potential GDP was higher than GDP rates. 1. 2, in the 3 years, 2011 to 2014, the average price of oil was $106 a barrel, while in 3 years, 2014, 2015, and 2016, the average price of oil was $50, less than half, about almost 40% of the price. In the meantime, average production in the 3 years, the last 3 years of the Jonathan administration, average oil production was 2.01 million barrels a day. The average oil production in the 2 years of the Buhari administration has been 1.5 million barrels a day. The net effect was that there was a gap created, an external imbalance gap, because the Buhari administration was operating with 40 to 45% of the revenue profile of the previous administration. Right? Now, inflation in 2014 fell as low as, by the EIU, 8%, but 9.6%. Inflation rose in 2016 to 18.6%, but it is now down to 16%. But more than anything else, the external reserve, which is what you put aside for savings. The external reserves in 2011 was $32 billion. In 2012, it went up to $44 billion. And then the decline started from 2012 under the Jonathan administration till it got to as low as $23 billion. The excess crude account was as high as $22 billion. It came down to $2 billion. And the parallel market was 164 in 2011, 158 in 2012, 191 in 2014, and it dropped to as low as 520 in 2016 and has recovered to 580. Today, the external reserves have recovered to $31.36 billion, as high as it was in 2011. So if you have to look at it in a nutshell, inflation was single digit, agreed, it went up to double digit and has improved. The parallel market crashed because of the price of oil and the production. The external reserves, which is the figure that you use, the external reserves depleted by almost 50% under the Jonathan administration to as low as $23 billion before coming back up to now it's up to $31.36 billion. And in any case, the recessionary gap, which started before it manifested in 2016, all things being equal, the rate of growth has started reducing. That is the negative growth rate. There's an expansion in economic activity. So it's not a picture of you fail or you pass. It is a question. The picture is the fact that the economy is on the mend after deteriorating. Most of the deterioration actually happened. The slide started well before the Buhari administration came in, but they did not take steps fast enough to arrest the slide. The slide couldn't have been as bad as it was, but they've recovered it, and now we are on the mend, and I think things are much better.
So stay with us, Mr. Riwani, just for a moment. Let me quickly come to Mr. Okolibo here. When the PDP says, look, the Buhari government stayed on course with their economic plans and economic achievements, that they would have sustained the Nigerian economy, it wouldn't have gone into recession. But if you look at those figures as read out by the economists here, it does look like things were really getting bad under the Jonathan government. There's a depletion of the Nigerian external reserve, and a whole lot of issues were going down. Is it fair for the Jonathan government to make such the former President Jonathan, to make such a statement?
Okay, well, let me just give it. I like the fact that you had Bismarck Rewani give all those figures that he has given. Let me give just a simple analysis. In 2013, one of the issues he didn't take was a benchmark. We had the medium-term expenditure framework. We had $79 as a benchmark in 2013. In 2014, we had $74 as a benchmark, and it came to $65. Now, it will be interesting that in 2013, at $79, were expected to earn 2.35 trillion at an export rate of 2.5 million barrels of crude oil. But what we earned was 1.99 trillion. But that didn't stop our external borrowing to be 744 billion. Now, if you take 744 billion with our GDP, which was about 6% as at that time, and the fact that today we are borrowing 2.36 trillion, which is within 2.18% of our GDP. Now, check, what is the benchmark? It's $44. Just do a simple arithmetic. And that will tell you that the economy was able to be managed better in 2013, even when there was a shortfall between 2.35 trillion and 1.99 trillion, than now that you are having 2.38 trillion within 2.18% of our GDP, and we are going down. Even
when in the late 2014 and 2015, it shows clearly that the economy was going to head for a crisis.
But that's why I gave you the figure. It was obvious. That was why in 2014, it came to $74 per barrel.
All right. But we'll take a breather. There's so much to talk about. But when we come up after the break, we'll talk more on this. Join us again, everyone.